Israel Adesanya has only been in the UFC for 14 months, and he's already rattled off 6 straight victories, many of which he finished in highlight reel fashion, and in some cases, with relative ease. Before this past weekend, he had already made a name for himself and was highly touted for good reason, but it was the war with Kelvin Gastelum at UFC 236 that was truly his coming out party. I've declared many times in the past how big of a last stylebender fan I am. I'm a sucker for beautiful striking technique, especially of the Muay Thai variety. There are a lot of great strikers in MMA and in the UFC, but there aren't really many true elite level kickboxers. I actually think they're far more rare in this sport than most think. But one thing I could say with absolute certainty is that Adesanya is one of them. As a long-time hardcore MMA fan, it's very satisfying to see a guy like Adesanya rise to the top. I hate using this term, but I do consider myself a purist in that what takes place inside the chain-linked octagon walls is what means the most to me. The fight promotion nonsense of everybody trying to be Conor McGregor often overshadows what's most important and what we're all here to see. So it's very pleasing to see an emerging superstar that's as entertaining and skillful as it gets in the cage feel the exact same way I do as a fan about all the bells and whistles of fight promotion and how it clouds the core of what MMA is. The co-main event of UFC 236 is the fight of the year so far in my opinion. Major credit to Kelvin Gastelum for giving the last stylebender his toughest test to date in the octagon, despite giving up major size and reach advantage and absorbing a lot of damage along the way without quitting. Adesanya sets a really good example with his demeanor and his attitude when it comes to this crazy game. He's dead serious about where he's headed and what he's capable of, but doesn't take himself overly serious. He has a great sense of humor that is not necessarily politically correct, and that's putting it mildly. And thank God we have someone at the top that's this way right now. It's just what the doctor ordered. It's funny to see and to hear some of the things he says and does, and it's really refreshing to see in this day and age of oversensitivity. All joking and good-natured ways aside though, he's a scary individual. A guy that, while not always being overly serious, still has an aura of a very scary person. Someone that would legitimately strike fear into any man that may have to stand across from him, and fear that's not based on the prospect of losing a contest, but being on the wrong end of a violent barrage of punches and or kicks and or knees and or elbows. Pinpoint accurate striking with essentially no wind-up and no telegraph. Very straight, sharp down the middle punches that find their target more often than not. And it's not that he doesn't have power, because his punches do pack power when he decides to use it, but his striking skills are sophisticated, so you'll never see him throw with emotional aggression. He treats it as if it was a video game and scores big in the cumulative damage department. Not to be confused with point fighting. I don't think we've ever seen an appearance in the octagon yet where he hasn't hurt somebody. Another great quality he has is that he's heavily influenced by anime and video games and often pays homage to this whenever the opportunity arises. I actually think it's a large part of why his style and performance/presentation is picture perfect. And to make the public opinion even stronger, in his fight against Gastelum, he demonstrated immense toughness and durability, as well as the ability to deal with adversity. To get wobbled and to not lose composure or deviate from the game plan, Izzy was cool as a cucumber, never once showing any signs of panic, even at the worst of times. And as much as I've expressed my disdain for the interim titles in the past, I'm really glad there was one on the line for this contest. The truth is, given the landscape of the middleweight division and all the circumstances surrounding it, both Gastelum and Adesanya were deserving of an opportunity to compete for a world title. And now we have an interim champion to really get excited about. A character that, in my opinion, is doing and saying all the right things, and just tailor-made to have his fan base grow exponentially provided everything stays on course. And if things go as they should, Israel Adesanya will have his opportunity to take on Robert Whittaker for the undisputed middleweight title. A bout that I believe is Adesanya's fight to lose. No disrespect to Whittaker. It's the path of having a base and background of kickboxing with over 80 fights on his record, the gradual shift to MMA in which he met expectations once he arrived, the eventual arrival to the UFC where he exceeded any expectations by cleaning house with 6 fights in just over a year, winning the interim championship, and seemingly having very big things coming down the line in the future that has me really high on Israel Adesanya.